So apparently, there are 3 versions of the A14. Well, here in Nigeria, we got the 4G Exynos 850 version, so I guess welcome to its review. I've made a video already where I gave my first impressions on the A14. I talked about its specs and all that, so I'm not really going to do that again, but here are the specs. A 6.6-inch, 60Hz, 1080p LCD display, the Exynos 850 processor with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. It comes with Android 13 and One UI Core version 5.1. We also get a 50MP main sensor and a 5MP ultra-wide sensor. 5000 mAh of battery, and I think 15 watts of wired charging. And all of that goes for 116,900 Naira for the base model and 126,900 Naira for the 128GB version. Now, I'm not going to say that the A14 is a bad phone, because it's not, but I am going to say it's very bland. Definition: lacking strong features or characteristics and therefore uninteresting. Like, if you put this side by side with the A13 from last year, you notice that they are so similar. The displays are the same, or even worse now because the bezels are much bigger. It didn't have to be this big. Why is it this big? Aside the chunkier bezels, it's the same display. The same good display. It's 60Hz though, and that's kind of disappointing. It could have been 90 if we're being honest, but it isn't. But at least the quality of the screen is great, just like last year. Maybe even the best in this category. The Exynos 850 is what we get in this region, which is what we had on the A13. It's never cool when this year's phone uses the same chipset as last year's phone, but it's fine. In fact, I think they might have done some optimizations, because it's a bit more fluid now. It comes standard with 4GB of RAM, but with RAM Plus, aka virtual RAM, you can get up to an extra 4GB. It's not the same as hardware RAM, and because you only get 64GB of storage, I wouldn't even recommend you use it, but it's supposed to help with multitasking and helping apps stay open longer in the background, and I would say it does okay with that. Multitasking is kind of okay. Certain lightweight apps can stay open in the background for hours, but the heavier ones, not so much. What about gaming? Someone did ask me how this phone performs with games. Well, put simply, gaming is still a no for me. The constant frame drops made winning games like 5 times harder, and this is just FIFA Mobile, so you can imagine what it does with higher graphic intensive games. So if you're someone who likes to game on your phone, you'd have to look somewhere else. Performance is okay for this budget, but gaming, total no. Now, even though the A14 comes with a core version of One UI 5.1, it still gives you almost the same experience, as you get Live Transcribe, Material U and its color palettes, the new iOS 16 inspired customizations from the wallpapers to the lock screen settings, but we also don't get some key features like a native screen recorder or Bixby or Smart View. But even with that, the fact that you get 2 years of major OS updates on this phone is a big win, because most phones in this price point don't offer that. Another major advantage of owning a Samsung phone are the cameras. Samsung are known for having really good cameras on their flagships, and for a while now they've kind of brought it down to their more affordable phones. And the A14 didn't disappoint. Well, these are the exact same rear cameras that we got with the A13, so not as impressive, but the images are still pretty impressive. And I think it makes sense to conclude that at this price point, they might actually be the best cameras, or at least in the top 2. The selfie camera though is different. It did receive an upgrade from an 8MP sensor to a 13MP sensor, and these are the images you get out of it. Maybe not the best at this price point, but it does quite okay in my opinion. Just lacks detail. Video is capped at 1080p for both the rear and the selfie cameras. It looks okay, but has no stabilization. It's like a 7. Battery life is really good as well. One advantage of using the Exynos 850 is that it's a very efficient chipset, so it optimizes the battery life really well. 30 minutes of gaming took about 6% of the battery for me, which is really good. I was consistently averaging 8 hours screen on time, and I think with light to medium use, you can easily go 2 days with this phone. But my main problem with battery, or should I say charging, is that it takes a while to fill up. Oh, and they don't give you a charger in the box, for some reason, on a budget phone. Overall thoughts, it's basically a design refresh. Like, that's the thing everyone sees at first, the design, and they did a really good job with that. They made the device look more premium than it actually is. And I think that would get a lot of people sold on the A14. But on the inside, it's basically the A13, but with an extra year of Android updates. And I know that that sounds like a bad thing, but the A13 was a pretty good phone. Like, aside for gaming, the A13 and now the A14 is a pretty decent choice. A boring, safe, but decent choice. And I say boring because before I put my SIM into the A14, it was actually in the Spark 10 Pro, and that phone, which is cheaper than the A14, makes the A14 look boring. Just go watch that video. You should see it somewhere here, I think. But those are my thoughts on the A14. An incremental upgrade. A safe choice. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.